Okay, there we go. All right, so we are on chapter 30 in the Cloud of Unknowing, kind of a treatise on Christian mantra meditation and how to use it. And so let's see, chapter 30 here, it's about looking at the faults of others. And so our previous chapter was a man must labor at this exercise perseveringly, enduring the pain of it, and judging no one. So that was kind of what he was setting us up for, is having a practice of non-striving, as we've been talking about. So today it's about judging or finding the faults of others. And of course, he's not going to want us to do that. He says here, chapter 30, who should judge or reprehend the faults of others? So he says, and who, I pray, are to judge the deeds of others? Surely those who have power over and care for their souls, whether this power is given externally or by the statute and the law of the Holy Church, or else interiorly in the Spirit by the special impulse of the Holy Spirit in perfect charity. Every man must take care not to presume to arrogate to himself the condemnation or reprehension of the faults of other men, unless he feels truly that he is led in this work interiorly by the Holy Spirit. Otherwise, he may very easily err in his judgments, and therefore beware. Judge yourself as you like. It is a matter between you and your God, or between you and your spiritual father. But leave other men alone. Here we go. Here comes Anna and Preeti. So this notion of judging others, just don't do it, basically. And if you find yourself doing it, the only thing to really be careful of is making sure that your motive is love. Making sure that you really are doing this not because you're right and are enjoying being right, not because you get to have authority to tell somebody something or any of those, that generally you just don't do it. But if you're led to do it, make sure that it's through love. And you have to watch your intensity of how much you correct somebody if you're going to correct them. You cannot correct someone beyond the level to which they believe that you love them. So that's a very good ratio to keep in mind if you are telling somebody about their faults or correcting somebody about something. You have to make sure that your intensity of that matches the level of which they believe that you love them, because you cannot correct somebody beyond the amount that you love them. It will have no effect on them in the long run. And so you want to make sure if you find yourself yelling at somebody, ask yourself, have I ever yelled at somebody or had that level of intensity where I was expressing love, expressing something positive to them? Because if not, then you shouldn't be using that level of energy to correct them. And so in that way, this is how we stay true to our nature. So we don't look for the faults of others, we look to our own faults. But if we are a teacher, or if we are in a situation, or if somehow we've been inspired inside to help somebody, then that's when we pull out that discernment. How much do I love this person? Because it's only to that extent that I can help them, right? That I can correct them. They won't be able to take in anything beyond the amount that they believe in your love. So he says, chapter 31, how to conduct oneself when first undertaking this exercise against all sinful thoughts and impulses. All right. When once you feel that you have done all that is in your power to make amends according to law by the judgment of the Holy Church, then you must begin to dispose yourself earnestly for the labor of this exercise. Right? Again, there's our word earnestly, which we know is one of the two most important things in spiritual life, your sincerity and your earnestness. Okay, so he's saying that when you've kind of gotten the yamas and niyamas together, the do's and don'ts together, and you're kind of moving forward in your spiritual life, right? He says, now you begin to dispose yourself earnestly for the labor of this exercise that he keeps calling it. I'm not sure why he keeps calling it that, but basically this mantra meditation that he's teaching us how to do. If it happens that particular sins which you have committed are always inserting themselves in your awareness between you and your God, or any new thought or impulse concerning any other sin, you are bravely the step above it with a fervent impulse of love and tread it down under your feet. Okay, so this is the process of discernment, right? Discernment means isolate it, right? Recognize it, isolate it, and just look at it and ask yourself pertinent questions about it. Where is this coming from? Why this desire? Why this narrative? What purpose is it serving? Is it serving me? And when he says to go above it, this is the nice thing. This is that taking refuge in the divine. Your shrine is a very powerful refuge, extremely powerful refuge. And so if you're sitting there, if you've got a temptation, to use a Christian word for it, if something is nagging you and not leaving you alone, you take refuge in the shrine of the heart in mantra. Mantra and God are one of the same. And so that mantra, because of your practice and your single-minded practice around it, it always assumes that it's the only thing in your mind, right? And so you move into that space. You run to the heart, you take refuge, and you start your mantra until the danger passes, right? Until your mind is no longer just kind of wobbling around things, unhelpful thoughts, right? So you are to bravely step above it and with a fervent impulse of love and tread it down under your feet and try to cover them with a thick cloud of forgetting as though they had never been committed by you or by any other man. Okay, this is a very good piece of advice there too. After you've dealt with it, after you've recognized it in yourself, right? After you've admitted to it, forget it. Forget it. Do not drag it up anymore to think about it for any reason. Keep your mind on freedom, right? So accept it, acknowledge it, put your awareness on it, mention it to the mother if you want, or to your divine, and then let go and walk away. Never to return to it again. Don't apologize for it again. Don't bring it up again. Don't keep going back to it again. Don't feel guilty about it again. Don't feel remorseful again. Forget it. That's how you show your faith, right? Your faith is what you're demonstrating. I offered this to the mother. I have forgiven and laid it down in front of her and asked for her strength. I will leave it here and I will never pick it up again. And you go forward in faith, just believing. And anytime the mind brings it up again, which it will, you say, mind, we've given that to the mother. And you move on. You don't indulge any thoughts about it. And try to cover them with a thick cloud of forgetting, as though they had never been committed by you or by any other man. And if such thoughts often arise, put them down often. In short, as often as they arise. As often put them down. And if it seems to you that this is very laborious, you can look for tricks and devices and secret subtleties or spiritual tactics by which you can put them away. These tactics are better learned from God than from the experience of any man in this life. So I like his dependence on prayer there. So that we put these things down and we move on beyond them, not bringing them up to ourselves again. And if they keep coming up, you just keep putting them down, right? It's not a matter of how many. Why is it not a matter of how many? Because God never remembers what he's forgiven. So it's always one. You've always got one problem before the Lord, whatever current one you're working on, right? He doesn't look at you and see a list of troubles. He looks at you and sees a divine perfection. That image of the beloved is what he sees in you, right? And so you can always know that. He doesn't see the laundry list that you see. when you think about yourself. He sees the pure image of himself that he placed in you, that is your existence. And he sees that has been a battery that has activated many, many, many things, right? Some of them vices. But even when he sees the vices, he knows that they were motivated by love, a confused love or a restricted love. But he understands the love motivation in all things. That's why to the seer, the moment is always perfect, right? Because even though, quote, wrong things, big quote, wrong things are being committed all the time, they're being committed for good reasons, for beautiful reasons, right? Even if those reasons aren't holy or aren't, well, even though the effects may not be holy, like you look at, yeah, just anything you do. Vivekananda is the one who says it. I'm going to lay it on his plate. That love is the only motivating force in the universe. There's nothing else that motivates us to action. And so if you see something heinous going on and you're feeling judgment and feeling disturbance by it, then look beyond what's being done and try and see if you can find the love motive in it, to understand the love motive. I always pick on Hitler for that when I look at it, because that's the most difficult one to see, right? It's like you look at that and you're like, how could he have done that for love? What he did? Well, he did. He had an ideal. It was an ideal that was body mind based, right? You had to have a nose this size and colored eyes this way, and be from this region of the world and have this hair color and these measurements for your features, right? And if you met that, you met his ideal. And if you met his ideal, you were in a great situation, right? He served you and loved you, and you enjoyed his ideal. So there was love behind his ideal. But because he was body mind based, it was a very narrow number of people that benefited from his ideal, and a very large number of people that were hurt, that were harmed by his ideal. And so, see, we're all on that spectrum, right? You've got, to the degree that you believe yourself to be material, to that degree your ideals are material, and to that degree you are helpful or hurtful, depending on what the effect is of that. If you're at the other end, you're spiritual, right? You take like a Jesus. He's spirit identified. So spirit identified does not have many boundaries. Has no boundaries, actually. And so spirit identified, the people that Jesus was beneficial to, was vast, millions, billions maybe. But there was a small number of people that killed him. So not everybody was happy about his ideal. Not everybody participated in his ideal. So you see the difference. It's like at one end, we've got our worldly ideal, which is very exclusive, right? And harmful to a larger number of people. And then you've got your spiritual ideal, your spiritual identity, which embraces everyone and reaches many more. So when we express our love, the reason that we're working so hard on our egotism and diminishing our ego is that is the less ego we have, the closer to a Ramakrishna or a Buddha or a Jesus we are in our expression of our daily life. And the more people will be benefited by our expression of our nature, right? To those expressing themselves as body mind, very few people will benefit from that, right? In that. So that's all he's saying. Keep putting these things down, these things that serve body mind. Keep putting them down, push them down, no matter how many times they come up. And once you've noticed them, once you've acknowledged them and uttered them to the mother or to your divine ideal, then put them away, never pick them up again, and go forward. All right. And that starts us on chapter 32.
Before we go to the next chapter, could you please
Yes.
just say a few more words about offering to the mother or divine idea? What does this actually mean? What kind of just describe the offering. What kind
Okay.
of a sense you do it, or I mean, what's involved in it?
There's several ways you can do it, and it will have a lot to do with your disposition. If you're purely a Gyani, then you just place them in the light of your own awareness, and you just see it very clearly. Wow, look at that! I did that, and this is how it felt when I did that, and this was the fruit of having done that. This was its effect on me when I did that. You just really see it as it is, without any narrative or story to it. And as soon as you do that, you let it dissipate into that light of awareness that you offered it to, or that you were looking at it with. If you are doing it as a bhakta gyani, that means you're in love with God, but you're pulling jnana into it. Same thing, that light of awareness, but that light of awareness would be the presence of Mother, or Thakur, or Jesus, or Buddha. And you would literally see yourself within your mind's eye, hand it to them. Or what I do normally is I open that area of my awareness. I let Mother go in and see it clearly. I place it all before her, and I look at it with her, each part of it, because she is the pole star that lets me know how I should feel about it. Right? Because a lot of our confusion is if in body mind, the body mind might like that vice. They might not feel very guilty for it. They may secretly have wanted it, right? That why else would you have done it? And so that part has to be taken into account, right? And so that's why we bring the divine presence in. We bring Mother in, and we show it to her, because she's the ideal, and she will react appropriately to it. She will let you know what attitude you should have about it. And once you've offered it, once you've laid it down at your feet and asked for help and strength to endure it, then you get up and you never see it again. It's gone. It has been effaced. Mother does not remember it. She does not hold you accountable to it. She's not angry about it. She has forgotten. She has let it go, because she, above all, knows how to forgive. Does that help anymore?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Sure. So chapter 32, 2 spiritual devices helpful to the beginner in this exercises. I would like to tell you something about these devices according to my experience. Put them to the test, and you can do any better, and if you can do any better, well and good. You are to do all that in you lies to act as though you did not know that they are pressing very hard upon you and coming between you and your God. Okay, what's he saying there? You are to do all that in you lies to act as though you did not know that they are pressing very hard upon you and coming between you and your God. Try to look over their shoulders, as it were, as though you were looking for something else. That something else is God, surrounded on all sides by the cloud of unknowing. Right? So we don't, what he's really saying here is don't become familiar with the things that you are not wanting to be thinking about. Right? Don't step into the middle of them and share your familiarity. Why? Because they're going to catch fire. Right? If you step into the middle of your desires and start contemplating them, start thinking about them, they catch fire. They start waking up all of their samskaric buddies in there, old memories, old experiences, old pleasures, all your favorite times that you remember doing those things, right? And then if you don't bring Mother in, then you're going to compromise inside, right? Because you like them. Frankly, that's why we've got these weaknesses, because we like them. We hold on to them. They serve a purpose of some kind, and that will be the case until we properly discern them and then renounce them. But they have to be properly discerned. You have to come to the point where you see that they are not helpful to you, that they are not serving you, and they are not delivering on what they promised, right? Because if you don't know that about them, you're going to have to find a way of understanding that you don't want them. Otherwise, you're going to set up little things of sabotage inside. You're going to go to battle, but it won't be a sincere battle, right? Because you won't do the final closing of the door. You'll close the door all the way down to a little crack so that you can still look out it, and if somebody comes, they can still get in, right? But the door will look closed, and that's how the ego tricks us, right? Tricks us. So we want to discern carefully and understand the nature of these things, because God is not asking us to get rid of our favorite things. He's asking us to see things as they are and to be willing to let go of the things that we see are not helpful. And anything that enhances or encourages your mind to be on the body or on the mind itself are not helpful to your spiritual life, right? You want the mind on the divine, and it can be on everything in accordance, but the fundamental is to make sure that there's always a background or a substrate of God awareness. If you have that awareness of the divine, you can think about just about anything you want and not get into trouble, right? Unless you're doing it to get into trouble. So he says, do all that in you lies to act as though you did not know that they were pressing very hard upon you and coming between you and your God, right? So be casual don't be afraid of these things. Don't develop a compulsive negativity around them. Don't repress them. Let them express, right? Don't do any stiff arming. If you do any of the stiff arming, you're going to get a spiritual hernia. That's what I call it, a spiritual hernia. You'll get some little fetish or some weird attraction or some weird tick in your mind, when you see those things or you're around those things, because the mind will find secret ways of expressing them if you haven't discerned and renounced them. And so don't let them become big deals. Don't spend a lot of mind time on them. Don't sweat it. Don't try and convince yourself anything about them. Just really try and leave them neutral and well observed. That's how you want to leave them. Leave them neutral and well observed, and walk away from them. Try to look over their shoulders, as it were, as though you were looking for something else, right? Don't let your attention or your concentration don't land on them as a thing to think about, as a thing to contemplate. Keep your mind's attention above them, looking for basically the mantra is where we're going to end up, is that mantra. And mantra will give you freedom from it. All right. You can discern and do mantra simultaneously. You can do mantra and renounce simultaneously. Both are very powerful actions, very strong actions. If you do this, I'm sure that within a short time you will find your burden easier. I believe that when this device is well and truly understood, it is nothing else but a longing desire for God, to experience Him, to see Him as far as may be possible here below. This desire is charity, and it always wins easement. Right? This is the longing Thakur talks about, Ramakrishna talks about all the time. Right? This knowledge that we need to know is the knowledge of love. The knowledge is of who we are, that we are not a body and we are not a mind. Those are the three most important things to remember. That your nature is Sat Chit Ananda, that you are not body and you are not mind. That is the final goal, to be established in that knowledge, right? And if you're established in that knowledge, then you start your discernment, your renunciation, and your mantra for purification. Right? Purification is basically getting rid of the narratives, the little mini narratives that are always slipping into the mind. Whatever it is, you think a thought about a beautiful person, and then instantly a memory of a picture of that person comes up, and then you're kind of just thinking about, oh, no, 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 right? And you just kind of slip into a narrative that ends up with you looking at that picture or with you looking at some other picture, right? Or something, just some compromise along the way. And it will always be something that seems little and unimportant. That's step one. The mind, it knows that it can't get you to go in and pick up the bazooka and go blow up, the thing immediately. But it'll start with matches, right? It'll start with matches, or it won't take you to the difficult. Well, anyway, you get what we're saying. I don't want to get too much into it because it's uncomfortable even for my mind to hang around talking about those things. But just to be honest with yourself, lay these things down. You've got to unify your heart. Make sure that when you're renouncing, that you are renouncing with a whole heart. And if you're renouncing with a whole heart, that means that there's not going to be a, oh gosh darn, in your voice. There's not going to be a reservation in there. You're going to be like, no, God, get this out of here. Right? There's not going to be, oh, stash it over there under that pile of stuff. We'll deal with it later. Don't do that. Right? Because it will come back and bite you later. Right? So unify yourself inside. That's what purification is. Do that discernment so that you know who it is that you are and what is your natural and healthy desire. Right? To know love, to know grace, to be free. There is another device which you can put to the test if you wish. When you feel that you can in no way put down these thoughts, all right? So you're just not able to battle them out. They're hanging there. And usually if you can say no with the grand renunciation, it will stop completely. But that takes a certain amount of discernment and a certain amount of God presence and a certain amount of maturity to be able to just bang your staff on the ground and have things crumble and burn around you. So he's going to give us a second method here. When you feel that you can in no way put down these thoughts, cower down under them like a poor wretch and a coward overcome in battle, and reckon it to be a waste of time for you to strive any longer against them. Oh, that's an interesting idea. In this way, though, you are in the hands of your enemies. You give yourself up to God, feel as though you were hopelessly defeated. Pay particular attention to this device, I pray you, for it seems to me that when you put it to the test, you will find yourself melting as though to water. And truly it seems to me that if this device is properly understood in its subtlety, it is nothing else but a true knowledge and an experience of yourself as you are, right? Meaning your ego self, a wretch, filth, far worse than nothing. This knowing and experience is humility. This humility merits to have God himself coming down in his power to avenge you against your enemies, to take you up, to cherish you, and to dry your spiritual eyes, as the father does for the child that was in danger of death under the mouths of wild boars and mad biting bears. Well, this is a very interesting one here. So when you feel that you cannot overcome, then quit trying. It doesn't mean do it. Just stop the battle. And in that stopping of the battle, just turn there all bruised and bloodstained, sitting right where you're sitting, and turn to God. And just say, look at this. And completely open that situation up. See the patheticness of your weakness. See the this pathetic inability to find some substance inside, to find something to rise up and pick up your sword with. Like, no, right? And see the divided mind, see the divided heart, right? See the secret love for this vice. See how you've held on to it for all these years. And with all of that, sit there and look at God, and feel the love that's still coming through there. Feel his hope, her hope for you. Feel her desire for your freedom, right? Understand what you could have if you didn't limit yourself like this, right? Imagine what your life would have been by now had you been successful in putting this down, right? What kind of joy, what kind of freedom would you be experiencing? So, in that way, hand it to the mother then also. And he's saying that that will develop a level of humility and dependence because you couldn't beat it. And it was you sitting in defeat that brought the healing, right? Just turning to mother and acknowledging, I've lost. I can't do this. And taking refuge. And leave it to the Lord to strengthen you, to wipe away your tears, right? So it's not our condition. That's the important thing. God's love is what makes the man of steady wisdom steady, right? That's how the Gita describes a man of or a person of enlightenment, that they are a person of steady wisdom. They're not all over the place. They're not moody. They're not excitable. It's very difficult to make them angry. They're always very centered, very strong in there. And so the way that a spiritual seeker gets that kind of steadiness, that kind of stability, is by building your relationship on the love of God for you. Not on your love of God, the love that you have for him, because that goes up and down and sometimes gets forgotten completely. Sometimes is in a good mood and sometimes the faith just isn't there. But God's love for you does not have all of those moods, does not have all of those swings, is not unsteady. It is absolute, profound, and utter every time you approach. So you build a relationship on that, which means when you approach God, you're not approaching him with your own qualities in mind or your own lack of qualities in mind. You're approaching him with a faith in that love, that divine love, right? Regardless of your condition. You could have just finished, I'm back. I don't know. Mother does not want me listing out vices today. She steps on my ear when I start talking like that. So I can't list out good examples. All right. All right, chapter 33. In this exercise, the soul is absolved of his particular sins and the punishment due to them, and yet there is no perfect rest in this life. I am not going to speak to you of more devices at this time, for if you have the grace to put these to the test by experience, I believe that you will be able to teach me better than I can teach you. I love this. He's really expecting you to do this. And he's saying, there's not a whole lot to it. Just do it. And really, that really is spiritual life. We just talked about in just 3 or 4 sentences what the essence is. You are not the body mind. Your essence is love, wisdom, and being. Right? Be it. Be that. Be present. Forget your past. Forget your future. Be here now. These are all things. They're all the same, very simple thing to do. It's really just be what you are authentically. Don't be the story of you, right? Don't be the narrative of you. Be you in silence. What is you? What is in you that expresses when the ego is silent, when thoughts are still? So say, I believe that you will be able to teach me better than I can teach you. And even though it might happen thus, truly it seems to me that I am very far from arriving there. So I pray you to help me and to work both on your own behalf and mine as well. Oh, this is a man right after my own heart. I always emphasize this to people, you know. It's like I'm a dude. I'm a dude, and I'm just walking, I'm trying to become the best lover that I can possibly be. And that's it. But I'm just a person walking the same path. All of us are walking together. And so I usually tell people, you know, no, I'm not a guru. I'm your cheerleader, you know. I'm the person walking next to you who's going to believe in you and who's going to know that you can do it and who's going to see it in you when you can't see it in yourself. You know, that's my commitment there. And he's saying the same thing. He's saying, look, I'm still working on these things as well. And if you take them and do them earnestly, you'll probably be able to teach me better than I can teach you. Right? So it's in that way. Press on then and labor earnestly for the time. I pray you, endure the pain humbly. Right? If you cannot quickly acquire these tricks, for truly this is your purgatory. Right? This is where we're working it out. That's what he's saying. Technically, for in the Catholic world, you have to be dead to go to purgatory. But he's basically saying you're here in purgatory now. You're working it out now, right? Work out. Jesus has that one statement, or Paul says it, I think, let each man work out his salvation in fear and trembling. Right? I never liked that one. Fear and trembling is not exactly how I want my spiritual life to be arranged. But in the beginning, that's the way it is. In the beginning, we have fear of God, right? But as we grow, that ends in love. Love replaces that fear as we learn about the love of God. Without the love of God, we have a great deal to fear. there's lots of scary things there. When your pain is all over and God has given you these devices and you have acquired the habit of them through grace, beautiful, once again, bringing us right back to what transforms us. It is grace. Through grace, then I am sure that you will be purified, right? What is purification? You'll overcome the thoughts of me and mine. You'll break down the ego. You will be purified not only from sin, but also from the pain of attaching to it. I like that distinction. Because there is the sin, you know, the wrong things that we somehow fall in love with, right? But there's the attachment to it, which is really the suffering. The fact that we can't let go. The fact that we don't have a choice. Right? We always think that when we're indulging in our vices that we're doing what we want to do. And so we've convinced ourselves there's a certain freedom in it. I'm doing what I want to do. No, you're not. You can't say yes to something until you can say no to it. Right? If you can't resist the thing, then you're not free to do the thing. So don't say yes to things that you can't say no to and think that you're making progress. Make sure that you're able to say yes and no to all of these things before you do or don't do them. You are in charge, right? And then you'll experience that pain, the pain of attachment, that horrible inability to let go of something that you know is destroying you. A great deal of suffering in that. I am speaking of the pain of your own special past sins, not of the pain of original sin, for that will always be with you to your dying day, no matter how earnestly you labor. Mm. Mm.
There is no in Vedanta original sin, right? There is nothing like
Uh,
it's in Christianity. Is there any analogy or?
no, there is, but we wouldn't put it in the same place that Christianity puts it. For them, it's front and center. It's one of the most fundamental truths that's necessary for their paradigm. That you have a sin that you can't get to God no matter what you do, without the help of God. In Vedanta, there's a similar idea, but it has nothing to do with sin. It has nothing to do with attainment or your salvation or anything. It's just the knowledge that you cannot manifest without an attachment. You have to have something in order to manifest, to become a body mind. There has to be some sense of separation or particularity that keeps you, that pulls you out of your states.
Vasana, there should be some sort of a vasana present.
Yes, exactly. In order to have a body. So, and that would be an original sin, but it doesn't count against you forever, and it is transcendable. It's not like what he's saying here, where you're going to feel this all the way until you see God. But Ramakrishna does talk. He says, like lust will be there all the way until God realization. It does not. The hankering, he says, for these things is going to stay there all the way until your realization. And I really think, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is how I think about it in my mind. Um, I have tied my vices to the name of God, you know, because it's been a lifelong struggle for most of them. And so when they come up, when they present themselves, mantra is always very nearby, right? Because of that habit. And so we want to keep it like that inside, and we use our vices then to make us think of God, right? They make us think of God, and they keep us humble. But better to think of God and to be humble without any vices. That's the ideal. But if you've got them, let them drive you toward the beloved. Don't let them separate you from the beloved. Nevertheless, it shall trouble you little in comparison with the pain of your own particular sins, the pain of original sin. And even so, hard labor will always be yours. For new and fresh impulses towards sinning are always springing up out of this original sin, which you must always smite down and earnestly cut away with a sharp, two-edged, awesome sword of discernment, discretion. From this, you can understand and learn that there is no absolute security nor any true rest in this life. I'm not going to say that that's true. I think that for the common experience, that's true. But I think that we must acknowledge that you can realize God in this life. And once you've realized God, Thakur says you can go back into the world like a mudfish. You won't get dirty. You won't have that impulse. Right? This again is not acknowledging that our nature, our native nature, is not sinful. Our native nature is light. It's Satchitananda. Our fallen nature, when we're in ego space, if we're living in ego space, that ego is wicked. That ego leads us to selfishness, leads us to take care of one and only one, me, right? And relates everything to me. You must not turn back, don't give up because of this, or be too fearsome of falling. For if it happens that you receive grace for the destruction of the pain of your own particular sins of the past, in the way I have described, or better if you can, you may be sure that the pain of original sin, or else the new impulses to sin, are to come, will be able to trouble you hardly at all. Right, just and that you're going to see through experience. As you know yourself not to be body mind, as that gels within you, as you've gathered evidence from your practice and seen it, that you are not the body and that you are not the mind, then of course, the more you know the body mind has nothing to do with you, of course, then the less effect body mind is going to have on you. Right? When you can acknowledge that something, oh, that's the body wants that. I don't want that. That has always been a pain. Right? Oh, the mind wants that. That's the mood of the mind right now. It's like, but that's not my mood. I'm not interested in that right now. Right. So if you can get that sense of separateness from body and mind and the understanding that it really doesn't have anything to do with you, then you can become less interested in it. And through that lack of interest, you can transcend a lot quicker. Right. But after you get into the habit, this purification that he's talking about there, once you get yourself moving down that path of purification, the more pure you are, the less interested you are in things that would be called vice, things that would be called unhelpful to the spirit. Mostly because you're sitting in bliss. You're enjoying the company of God. And you know from experience that when you give in to your vices, it removes that. That's how the game is put together. It distracts you from God. And then you have to really start working on your faith, because it takes a lot of faith to walk into the presence of God, having freshly committed your favorite vice. It's an uncomfortable thing, no matter what it is. Even knowing you're forgiven, even knowing the mercy covers you, even knowing that God loves you so much, there's still a part of you that's like, yeah, but why did you do it? God does love you. That's exactly why you shouldn't have done it, And so you can really camp in that area and get a lot of self-hatred out of it, which a lot of people tend to do, oddly enough, because we somehow feel like that redeems us. If I feel bad enough, then I'm a good enough person, right? And so we drive ourselves right into the floor so that we make good and sure that we're feeling really bad about this, to prove to ourselves that we're still a good person. Do you see how unhelpful that is? That's a very unhelpful thing to do. So let it drive you into the lap of Mother, where you can forget about it altogether and be the good person that you are, rather than pining away for what you thought you could, what you think you could be, if you could only defeat this or overcome that. Right? That again is that unsteadiness that we want to avoid. All of our confidence in our self is confidence in the love that God has for us. A confidence that that is enough, that grace will bring me home, right? And to live in that space all the time. Here, make sure. Yeah, it's about time to stop for the day. Right? So let me go ahead and